Welcome back into Ben Talks Utah Hockey. I'm Ben, your host, and for the podcast regarding all things Utah Hockey Club. From game previews, post-game breakdowns, player highlights, stats, and storylines, this podcast is your ultimate guide to Utah's newest hockey team. We'll dive into the big moments, the key plays, and the rising stars who are putting Utah Hockey Club on the map. Whether you're a lifelong hockey fan, a newcomer to the sport, or you're just curious about Utah's growing hockey community, this is the place to be. So lace up your skates, grab your stick, and join me as we hit the ice and talk all things Utah Hockey Club. All right, and with that, we are getting into... I'm doing a live stream here on YouTube here for the first time ever, so if things are a little different tonight and you're listening to this podcast on your drive to work or your afternoon tomorrow, then... Now you know. You can also catch it on YouTube as well. So you can find me basically anywhere you find a podcast. But yeah, I'm just trying something a little different tonight and doing a YouTube live. So maybe I can look back over it and you all can as well. But getting into this one, we've got the Utah Hockey Club taking on the Dallas Stars here in Dallas, January 4th. It's their third matchup of the year. And just a couple of thoughts and some notes to go over before we get into the first period. Liam O'Brien gets his third start in a row, back in the lineup tonight on the third line, and I like to see that. Carcone is out. I don't know if he was out with an illness. They didn't specify on the broadcast, and there's nothing as far as right now on their injury report or anything like that, so he might be out with an illness or he's got a little nagging injury. But Michelli returns from illness, and he takes his spot on the fourth line. Kolyachonok, he gets a start as well on the defense. Bortuzzo's out again with another injury, so it's looking like Robert Bortuzzo just can't stay healthy here at the midway point of the season. Question I got is, will Logan Cooley extend his away streak? He's scored 5 goals and 12 assists in the last 12 away games. So look for him to try to extend that tonight in this post game. And can they get the goal production they need to get in front of Vejmelka? Big question. And will they break even with points on this 4-game road trip, getting a 4 points out of a possible 8? That'll be the question tonight. First period, we're seeing... Obviously, Vejmelka gets the start for Utah, and then Oettinger gets the start for Dallas. And it's a fast-paced game to start, and getting into the midway point, it's mostly been Dallas pressuring in the offensive zone, but Utah does have 3 shots. Dallas has 6. Both teams are kind of getting some chances, and we've seen a couple of big hits already to this point. Dallas had 3, Utah had 4 hits registered at the midway point in the first period. And as we get later into the first, Utah sees a little bit more sustained offensive zone pressure, and they mount some good looks, but they just can't get one past Oettinger. Vejmelka looked good on the other end as well. There were a couple of defensive breakdowns for Utah, and that's been kind of a point of contention in my eyes just this whole year, is that Utah's, they do really well on their own rush chances, but they give up a lot going back. And we kind of saw that there in the first period. Although the shots ended up being Utah with 9, Dallas with 10, I thought Dallas kind of controlled that first period. Score 0-0. Nothing happened on the score sheet there in the first period, but Dallas looked like they kind of controlled most of that period. Getting into the second, it was a little bit more exciting here in the second. Dallas scores right away. Jamie Benn from Johnston and Duchesne, 16 seconds into the second period. So hot start for Dallas. They come out flying right off the bench. They get a quick one, but Utah answers back within the next minute. Matias Michelli, he scores from Kraus and Bugstad, and that gets Matias Michelli off of his scoreless streak. He has not scored since October. And that's a huge goal for him to get. Just gets the weight off his shoulders. I wonder if playing with that fourth line tonight just kind of helped him relieve some of the stress of like, okay, like I'm playing on the fourth line tonight. If we don't score, it's fine. anything we get is a bonus. But Matias Michelli looked great tonight. He gets another one to answer back that first goal from Dallas. So Utah was starting to pressure Dallas more, and they were out shooting them at the midway point, but Dallas gets one off of another rush chance. It's back from Hyrie and Lundqvist. There's some goofy names in this game tonight. They're tough to read. And my spell check just tries to respell them for me, so sometimes they get messed up and I don't notice it right away. But back from Hyrie and Lundqvist, and that puts Dallas up 2-1 until Matias Michelli gets his second goal of the night, his fifth of the season, assisted from Kerfoot and Cole, and Michelli ties the game up at 2 with his second of the night. So just a great game for him tonight. He had a few chances at a hat trick tonight, but spoiler alert, he did not get the hat trick tonight. Bummer, but either way, he gets off his scoreless streak. So Utah's out shooting Dallas in this period again. Up until this point, 5 minutes left to go, and getting some more chances, but neither team can find the net with a late period push here. So ending the second, scores 2-2. Utah's starting to outshoot. They've got 22 shots. Dallas has 19, and Utah was getting a couple of good chances in the slot area, but Dallas was getting more chances off of giveaways and turnovers, and neither team was able to capitalize late in that period, but both teams capitalize on a couple of defensive breakdowns in their slot. So 2-2 at the end of 2, and heading into the third period, it's back and forth for the first 8 minutes. Utah gets 4 shots to Dallas's 1. And Utah was, in this third period, they were playing patient and trying to maintain possession of the puck. Andre Tourigny said it in his post-game interview that he liked the way they were playing tonight. They played a responsible game, is what they said, or is what Andre said. And I thought they did as well. If they weren't ready to pressure the zone, they weren't in a hurry to necessarily get it into the zone with a less than opportune chance. So they were trying to enter the offensive zone with speed, and I thought it really showed in this third period. They just played a more conservative brand of hockey, but more so just picking their spots and trying to get good opportunities, higher percentage opportunities, rather than some of the chip and chase they have been playing, which works as well. Their forecheck has been great, but they just weren't taking as many 50-50 chances, if that makes sense. So Sergachev has a couple of nice defensive plays, one to stop a 2-on-1 and then another to stop a breakaway. And he showed some prowess with the stick tonight in the defensive zone and helping out his goaltender, and he just played really well on the defense tonight, except for one breakdown, which we'll talk about later. Dallas then gets a penalty, the only penalty of the night. Roope Hintz, he takes a trip. He kind of got underneath the skate of Vejmelka when he was crossing through the crease, and the only penalty of the night gets called, but Utah is not able to capitalize. Dallas kills that one off. They did get a couple of nice looks on that power play. Gunther hit a post, but just couldn't get anything to go. Cooley was right there on the back door. Kind of this play that they've been running lately, working it out, working it over to Gunther on top of the circle, and then Cooley's on the back door waiting for a tip or a rebound, and they almost get one to go, but not quite. We're also seeing the Utah defensemen get involved in rush chances, kind of playing that aggressive style that we've seen in flashes this year. And I noticed Olli Maatta tonight, he's been getting involved more offensively. I feel like coming into this season, and since he got traded over here, he wasn't seen as like, oh, he's an offensive threat, but he's really good at trying to set up plays and look for tips in front of the net. He's not necessarily even trying to get shots on the net. He's trying to shoot to a guy's stick to get a tip in on the net, which it's an interesting way to play, but he's had a lot of success with it lately. We saw him get 2 assists in the previous game versus the Flames, and he almost gets another couple tonight. I mean, there were chances. So Olli Maatta, he's looking good to this point of the season for Utah. And with about 4 minutes left to play in the game, shots are 32-22 in favor of Utah. So Utah's out shooting them by 10 here. And Dallas gets a nice odd man rush chance after one of Utah's sustained offensive zone pressures. That was kind of the theme in the later stages of this game. Utah stays in the offensive zone. They get a couple shots, they get some pressure, and then Dallas gets a chance on the rush right after that. So it was kind of a game of that. Like Utah sustains, and then Dallas gets a quick chance, and then it's back out. Utah gets sustained pressure, Dallas gets another chance, and then it's back out. It was kind of back and forth like that the whole night. So both teams, like I said, both teams had their chances, but none can capitalize, and we are heading to overtime in this one. So both teams guaranteed to get a point out of this game. Scores 2-2. Shots end up being 33 for Utah, 24 for Dallas at the end of regulation. So heading into overtime, Stenlund gets sent out to take the draw. He wins it back to the defense in Sergachev and immediately skates off the ice. So this overtime happened quick. It was a pretty exciting one, and Utah starts out with possession, and Keller gets a chance, but he fires it wide. Dallas then gets possession. They get a shot, and then it's turned back over, and after it's saved by Ottinger, it bounces back out of the zone, and Robertson then gets a breakaway for Dallas. Vejmelka denies it. After that chance, Utah turns it around back into a 3-on-1 versus the Dallas defender, and Krause from Michelli almost buries one. He was on the knee, sliding through right on the back door, and he just can't get it to go. Ottinger had a great night tonight. He stuffed him. And then finally, Sergachev gets caught out on a long change, and that's tough when you're playing 3-on-3 and your bench is on the opposite side of the red line. You can get caught out there on changes, and the name of the game in overtime is to maintain possession of the puck and kind of look for that grade A opportunity. So Sergachev, he gets caught out there over a minute, and Dallas buries one. Harley scores from Duchesne on the short side of Vejmelka off of a rush chance. They were all kind of crashing the net, and Harley just kind of maintained possession for just a second and snapped one home right underneath Vejmelka's blocker. Or right underneath his glove, excuse me. He is a right-handed catch goalie. And right underneath his glove. So unfortunate loss tonight for Utah. Dallas wins the game 3-2 in overtime. Utah falls to 17, 15, and 7. They do get the single point to bring them to 41 total in the standings. Dallas, they climb to 24, 13, and 1, adding to their total in the standings with 49 points. And they're tied for second in the Central Division with Colorado. So, not a great loss. You would like to see Utah put that away with the offensive chances they had tonight, but Ottinger just bested them, and he had a great game. A couple of players for Utah. Matias Michelli, he had a nice one tonight. 2 goals. Like I said, his first since October, and he gets a multi-point game to break his scoreless streak, much like Krause did 2 nights ago in Calgary. So he also had a 2-point game. And just good to see that. Maybe build some confidence for Michelli. He's still a young player, and I talked about him in the last episode, and when he was sitting out with his illness, and I was saying, okay, maybe it's good for him to just sit out for a game, maybe even another game. Maybe he sits for a couple of games and he gets scratched, but Carcone tonight, he's not in the lineup, so Matias Michelli gets back in, And I don't know if they're going to kind of rotate that fourth line or not, but we did see Michelli play with the original third line that he had been playing on up to this point with Krause and Bugstad, and he kind of split time with O'Brien. He was playing on the third line, and then he was playing shifts on the fourth. So just kind of interesting. We'll see what Andre Tourigny does in these next couple matchups, but just one thing to keep an eye on, that third and fourth line, some bodies getting moved around there. Karel Vejmelka, he played solid again tonight, gave his team a chance, and on the flip side, Ottinger played great for Dallas. He stopped 31 of 33 in regulation, well above a 900 save percentage, so good night for both goaltenders, I thought. Like I've said in other episodes, and maybe I sound like a broken record, but you got to at least score. It seems like you just got to at least score 3 goals a night to win, and Dallas gets that done tonight, albeit in overtime, but they get it done. Utah does get that point, which, like I said, that's huge. I mean, it at least keeps them relevant. So, but I do think Utah needs to, if they want to make the playoffs, that's a game that they got to put away in regulation. They can't let it go to overtime. They got to find a way in the 60 minutes of regulation. Like, it just, if they want to sneak into the playoffs, get that wild card spot, that's one they got to have. Like, ideally, yeah, 1 point's better than none. And I thought Utah played well. They maintained possession of the puck. They played disciplined hockey, and one huge solid of the night is they didn't take a single penalty, which is a huge bright spot. That we just don't ever see that from Utah. They're always seeming to be penalized here in every single game, more than once. So the last couple games they've done well with penalties, not taking any bad ones. Minus Clayton Keller's one bad one versus the Flames, but not taking bad penalties. Dallas only had the one. Utah did not capitalize, but nonetheless, it was a pretty clean and physical game tonight. Lots of hits on both sides. That being said, yeah, it's now or never. This is the point of the season where you need to get wins and start stringing together some winning streaks. They do have an upcoming home game stand with 7 games at home in the Delta Center, and hopefully that'll provide them some time to refocus, sleep in their own beds, and come with good energy each night. They do have a back-to-back coming up. It's their second and third games of the homestand. The first game they do play is against the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Florida Panthers. And then the next 2 are on back-to-back nights when they see the Sharks and the New York Islanders. So hoping to get some revenge against the Sharks and get some points here at home. I think there are some winnable games coming up if they play like they played tonight and in the last game versus Calgary. They need to clean up a couple of breakdowns and the turnovers in high danger areas, stopping odd man rushes after those sustained zone times and on changes. They need to be winning the 50-50 puck battles more. And I thought they did that well tonight. Like I said, they maintained possession pretty well, but yeah, they forecheck well, but they're still giving up those odd man rushes on bad changes, and they're not picking up attackers when they come into the zone with a stick or a body or just kind of redirecting one of the entries. I thought they could have done a little bit better job of that tonight, and I cannot emphasize this enough, but the homestand coming up is going to be probably the most pivotal moment of the season, and will kind of give us a read on whether or not they're going to make a push for that wild card spot. This season, I know I'm not sure if this is the season it's going to happen that they make the playoffs. But hell, I'd love to see them do it. I'd love to be proven wrong, but we'll see. We'll see if they can build on this momentum going into the next 7 games and just kind of figure out where Utah's at in this season. They've got a significant gap starting to build between them and the teams above them. Um, the Blues do get 1 point on Utah. They're at 42, and Utah's at that 41. And then the next closest is Dallas and Colorado, sitting up there with 49. So the lead is starting to build for those teams on the top and starting to separate. So all these games coming up here at home, their home record hasn't been great this year. I think they're 5-5, 7-5, 5-7-4, 5-7-4 at home. I want to remember that stat right. I read that earlier tonight. But 5-7-4 at home. They haven't played that many home games this year, so I'm kind of surprised they get as long of a homestand as they do. It'll be their longest of the season, and it's kind of at that turning point for them. They really need to get it done here at home if they want to maintain relevancy in the playoff conversation. So we'll see. But that will probably about wrap it up here for the evening. I might hang out here on YouTube, just see if anybody checks in or finds the stream or not. I did post on X that I'd be doing it, but maybe we'll see if anything happens. But for now, it is getting late, so I am going to sign off here on the podcast side of things. So this is Ben Talks Utah Hockey. We'll see you on the next one, post game and pregame.